Hi, this is Pat Moorhead, and welcome back to day 3 of the 6.5 Summit. We're having fun. Hopefully, you've caught all the action from day 1 and day 2 and all the awesome stuff from our modern work and devices category. We're here doing a partner roundtable with Matt and Brent. Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing great.
Doing just fine. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I love doing these talks. I love them even more when they contain elements of the value chain. And here we have obviously AMD, microprocessor, notebook, desktop, and everything platform, and Lenovo, number one share in PCs on the globe. I'm familiar with all of your companies. I've been in and around this technology for over 30 years. I know it's scary, but true. But anyways, great to have you here for the first time on the 6.5.
It's great to be here. Excited about it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. You're excited. I mean, we're talking about great tech. But before we talk about the new ThinkPad Z13 Gen 2 and Z16 Gen 2, I want to hear really, let's say, strategically, what drove the ThinkPad Z Series in the first place?
Well, when you think about AMD and Lenovo, we've really established a strong partnership that has grown significantly over the last few years. We've established a strong set of solutions in the ThinkPad platforms with our Ryzen Pro processors. And as we looked at how we can continue to grow that partnership, how we can continue to innovate, last year for 2022, we were excited to co-develop the first generation ThinkPad Z. I think it was a development effort that was really based on the idea of let's deliver, develop, and produce the best platform for commercial users in the market. And the two of us worked very closely really to design every single piece of that platform from the ground up.
And Pat, you kind of mentioned, one of the points that, kind of drove the development around Z Series. You were talking about, the number one market share for the commercial PC market for ThinkPad. That's a great accomplishment. We love that. We love to be able to tout that and talk to our end users and customers about that. So we're talking a little more than 30% market share. But what that means is there's another part of that, call it 65-70% of the market that's decided not to join the ThinkPad family for whatever reason. And so we really wanted to go after that customer that had not joined the ThinkPad family and design a new platform with new features, with new benefits, with a new aesthetic to go after what has been traditionally, ThinkPad has been known as that black box design for 30 plus years. And so we wanted to give a new aesthetic with all of these other features and benefits that AMD is able to deliver for us on this platform.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. And what I know, just I guess maybe because I've been around and see it still, if it has the ThinkPad brand on it, it's made for business. The Z Series is definitely special out there. Let me ask, who is the Z Series made for? Just so the audience can get up to speed.
Well, we really went after an acquisition end user, somebody that's not familiar with ThinkPad. It might be the first time that they've ever had a ThinkPad before, but we wanted to, we initially went after the younger generation, Gen Zs, millennials that have, are now coming into the workforce. They're demanding something a little bit, more refined, a little bit more elegant, more metals in the materials. But then that end user experience, the demands that they have, especially coming from this hybrid work environment, there's a lot of new demands that are coming out that, that's what we're addressing with this platform.
I appreciate that.
And I would build on that. If you think about the users we're going after, we also made sure not to lose sight of the fact that this is a business notebook. And
Yes.
We designed it with our Ryzen Pro processors, which are designed specifically for business, coupled with all the security features, all the manageability features between both us and Lenovo to make sure that it is ready for the enterprise, but attractive to that end user wherever they may be.
And we also,
Yeah,
I mean, this is still 100% a ThinkPad. So it has the same reliability, durability, and reputation in the market as how we have built the ThinkPad brand for 30 plus years. It goes through the same mil spec testing for durability. It still has all of, like Matt said, it has all of those commercial benefit features that we have in the rest of the portfolio.
I love it. Dare I say, having your cake and eat it too. And by the way, these are the type of platforms that I use. I run a small business, but I want it to look really cool and really nice. So, hey, let's talk about Gen 2. Let's talk about the Z13 and the Z16. What's new? What are you putting in? It's already a very compelling platform. How did you make it better?
So, probably the biggest thing that you will notice on Z13 Gen 2 is the addition of a new top cover. It's actually made out of flax fiber. So I don't know if you can see it that well on the screen, but what we did, and this is part of overall Lenovo's drive around ESG and sustainability, we developed this new top cover that is actually made from the fibers of the flaxseed plant. We harvest flax fibers from the flaxseed plant. Now, flax seeds are used in everything from foods to upholstery to carpets, wide variety of uses. But we've taken these fibers, we line them out, horizontally, and then encase them in a bio-based resin to create this hardened shell. And then we actually adhere that to a 75% recycled aluminum top cover that is part of the frame of the overall product. And then what's another interesting part of the overall flax fiber design is because this is a natural product. Every single top cover will be unique.
Cool.
Any type of like small variation from the plant itself will come across in the overall top cover. So no two devices will be exactly the same.
That's part of what's so cool about these designs, right? Gen 1, we had the vegan leather. Gen 2, we have this flaxseed cover. And people see these platforms, and it's amazing how often people come up and go, what is that? That is so cool. And it's just a very different design. The aesthetics are outstanding. It's attractive. It's something people are excited to carry around. And then, to build on that for Gen 2, from an AMD perspective, we're using our latest Ryzen Pro 7040 processors. So that's our latest processors based on our Zen 4, our newest generation Zen architecture. So that's going to have the horsepower to deliver the best performance, the best efficiency, the best capabilities. So you've got a great looking platform, enterprise ready, delivering the best user experience.
No, I love it. It's a good story. Can't wait to use one. I did like the vegan leather. I haven't seen the flax fiber yet, but I can't wait. Can't wait to see it. So it's hard. I spent more years than I want to admit in the PC industry. I was actually a product manager. That was me back in the mid 90s. And that's kind of where it all started for me. And I knew that you just can't be all things to all people, right? And you really need to focus in from a workload point of view, right? On one end, right, you can shove a discrete graphics that drives up the power, drives up the size, and but with zero battery life, 12 minutes on battery life, and then there's everything in between. And then you have enterprise type capabilities, whether it's security, manageability that are important as well. So what are the focus areas when you designed the ThinkPad Z series?
Well, I mean, definitely, something that's, we are all living in, in today's climate is hybrid work. There's no, set design of where people work from. It's rare to come across, a customer, one of our large enterprise customers, that's 100% back in the office.
Yeah.
They might be 2 days in the office, 3 days at home, 3 days in the office, 2 days at home. They might just have a completely flexible schedule. And so, the products that we develop, and it was a big drive around the Z series, was having, hybrid work, in mind, living on Teams or Zoom calls or Google Meet, making sure that we have premium cameras, making sure that we have premium displays on the device. The audio, whether it's through our partners at Dolby, we have Dolby Voice for noise cancellation, Dolby Audio for a very rich audio experience. So we really made these devices to be as optimized as possible for this hybrid work environment. And a lot of that has to do from a performance perspective of being able to have a Teams call open with multiple tabs open on your browser and a PowerPoint running at the same time. And we can do that because of these guys at AMD.
Yeah, and if you go back to when we first started having these conversations around this platform, I remember sitting in these rooms on whiteboards, thinking about the user experiences we wanted to enable. And it was about collaboration. We were in the middle of a COVID pandemic where everybody was at home, and we wanted to make sure we delivered a set of solutions that allowed people to be productive from wherever they were. And so when you think about the portfolio, the Z13 offers just tremendous mobility, outstanding battery life, great productivity, no matter where you are. The Z16 is just an absolute powerhouse. Delivers a great user experience, great displays, has the integrated graphics or the upgrade to a discrete graphics solution, depending on what you want there. And then the last thing I would say is, we put a ton of work into how we optimize the platforms for real world user experiences. You can always look at benchmarks, but we specifically looked at how we perform on a Microsoft Office, how we perform on a video conference, the battery life you get on a video conference. And we delivered leading experiences around those areas because we were just laser focused on that hybrid work experience and optimizing for the real world use cases as opposed to some synthetic benchmark.
One of the other key parts of the hybrid work environment was security. Security was a big part because that was a big apprehension for a lot of our customers when they had their employees now working from home, working in a coffee shop, working wherever. They wanted to make sure that their data, that their information was completely secure. And so a lot of our ThinkShield umbrella within the ThinkPad portfolio, a lot of those features, like I said before, this is a ThinkPad through and through, and so our full security suite through ThinkShield is a part of that, but then also through AMD, you guys have a tremendous amount of security, based on the silicon.
Yeah, and it's really, when we think about security, it's about thinking about a layered approach, right? And so we design our processors with a very strong set of features and capabilities around security at the silicon layer. We work really closely, obviously, with you guys to integrate all of ThinkShield capabilities. And of course, collectively, we work with Microsoft to ensure that our products fully enable the latest and greatest around what they have with security. So it's just, whether you think about the design of the platform, the performance, the battery life, the experience, the security, it's just a great example of how we have collaborated around every single detail on this platform.
Hey, I might not hit your age demographic, but all the features you're talking about is the way that I've been working for the past 12 years in my business, right? I have to be productive anywhere. I'm in my office right now, but as we said in the green room, in 3 hours, I'll be on a plane for Paris, right? And I was in 3 cities this week alone, all over the place. But when I work, I got to get it done. And I really don't have time for superfluous, in my mind, superfluous consumer features that are going to drain battery life or make me less secure. So we talked a little bit about sustainability, and sustainability is a big topic in the 6.5 Summit because it's a big conversation out there. And whether it's consumers, whether it's businesses and governments, they're all internalizing what it takes to be more sustainable. And whatever side of the fence you're on, everybody can agree on efficiency. That seems to be a sweet spot. But what is it about the second gen Z13 and Z16 ThinkPad that makes it more sustainable? What were some of the things that you did? You talked a little bit about the top cover. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about that. And I think AMD probably had a little something to do with the energy efficiency.
Yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't agree more about the focus around ESG and sustainability overall. We hear that conversation every time we talk to a customer now. A lot of our end users and part of the focus, when we went to design this product, when we looked at focus groups, one of the questions that we did ask was around sustainability. How important is that to you when you are selecting device? And we found out that the younger generation, it is a very high up the ladder, requirement that the product that they're buying, is kind of following some sustainability guidelines, as well as the company that they're buying from, to make sure that they're, aligned with similar goals. So, directly about, the Z Series Gen 2, the Z13 and Z16 Gen 2, it doesn't just, it's not just with the product. It's really full cycle. We start in the manufacturing process from things like low temperature solder that we use on our motherboards. It's a process that we created at Lenovo years and years ago, turned around and gave it to the rest of the industry for free, right, because it was the right thing to do. We get into the product itself, and I had mentioned the flax fiber top cover. That's adhered to a 75% recycled aluminum frame to go around. But then the Z13 and the Z16 Gen 2, they were both offered in a 75% recycled aluminum top cover. We've also got a new 55% recycled aluminum D cover on the bottom of it. That's new for this generation. We're also using a lot more post-consumer content plastics throughout the device, like speaker enclosures, little holders that hold down the cables on the motherboards, battery adapters. All of these things, we're using more and more post-consumer content. Then we go to the packaging, and last year we introduced this new bamboo plus sugarcane fiber material that we're using on Z Series. That's 100% recyclable, but it's also 100% home compostable. So it ranks extremely high on the green level for sustainability. We have other things like within the product, within the packaging, we're moving to plastic free. We're trying to take out every single piece of plastic in the packaging itself. So when somebody actually has that out of box experience, there's no little plastic bags or plastic twist ties or a plastic cap anywhere. That's all completely taken out of the package. You couple all of this with like CO2 offset services, where an end user or customer can purchase CO2 offset that helps build windmills around the world. We even go all the way to like asset recovery services for the end of life of the product. So we're looking at this as a full circular life environment for a product. It's not just the product itself, but a big part of the product itself is that efficiency that we've been talking about that AMD brings to the table for us.
Yeah, it's just, we talk about it all the time, but it really is incredible to see how holistic we think about this. We've talked about that from day one. That was always a top priority for this platform. And on the efficiency side, obviously from an AMD perspective, one of our primary goals is to enable our customers, our partners, to work towards achieving their sustainability goals. And one of the key ways that we can do that is by delivering the most efficient solutions. So when we talk about delivering the most efficient, processors, obviously that has, tangible benefits to the user, and they're going to get better battery life. They're going to get a better user experience. But if you think about that a little bit, more broadly, our platforms actually consume less power out of the wall. They consume less energy. And so as you start to think about these laptops being deployed across, thousands of users in an IT environment, or hundreds of thousands or millions of people across the globe that use our platforms, it does allow our customers and collectively all of us to reduce our carbon footprint and consume less energy. So this platform, the collaboration, I think it really sets a great standard around, where collectively all of us can go in the industry. I think, it's been just a tremendous amount of innovation around how we really push the bounds and create some new, focus areas and make some really good strides in this space.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like both companies, AMD and Lenovo, are moving heavily in this direction. By the way, customers aren't going to saying they're not going to spend more, so you can't add cost, and that's a super big challenge when you're doing all of this, which is finding scalable solutions that aren't adding cost. Because the most part, and all the research that we do and that I've seen, most people aren't willing to pay more for it, but they want to know it's there. So, and it is super. It's hard enough to bring out an SoC and a platform, and then bring out a full notebook optimized and then back it for years. People expect it to last for 5. I mean, this is really, really hard. So moving the goalpost as it relates to sustainability is a reality, and you should be commended. So now that you've got us all excited about this product and the partnership, when can users buy the new ThinkPad Z13 and Z16?
We're targeting this summer, so we should be able to see this, online and in customers' hands this summer. So coming up really soon.
Okay, that's this summer. I mean, we're here in Austin. It's probably going to be 95 degrees here. I guess that's still spring, but maybe we'll look at the first day of real summer to do that. So, gentlemen, it's been a great conversation. Matt, Brent, really thank you for, first of all, illuminating and educating us all on the deepening strategic relationship between Lenovo and AMD, the co-creation that the two of you have done. And we're now on the second generation of this product line. And we had a nice drill down on some of the improvements you've made to the Z13 and the ThinkPad Z16. So thank you for coming on the show, and we hope to see you again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pat. It was great to be here.
Sounds good. So this is Pat Moorhead with the 6.5 Summit. Thank you for tuning in to this segment from day 3, Modern Work and Devices Partner Roundtable that we have here. Hopefully you'll stay tuned and watch the day 1 content, day 2 that's on simulcast. Hope you enjoyed yourself wherever you are on the planet. Good night, good afternoon, and good morning for those of you out there. Take care.